Research, obviously the library gateway is really useful that Hallam provide. Just put in keywords which you want to find out about, and normally you can provide a lot of papers and journal articles which can help you with your learning. So no, best way is I'd say library gateway.
It depends on the question, but what I've been told is you don't have to focus much on the internet sources, so you got to read a lot of literature from the library rather than the internet.
I think we have our website, the Library Gateway, which I think is quite well known as being the place you start when you're looking for library resources. So students tend to, I think, go through ShoeSpace, use the search box on there to sort of to find answers to questions they might have about where help desks are or what the process is for submitting a piece of work, that kind of thing. But when it comes to library resources in particular, I think students go to the Library Gateway, they use library search to find books, journal articles. Speaking of online, the thing to remember is that a lot of the university's resources are accessible off campus as well as on, because electronic journal articles and ebooks, you can get them wherever in the world you are with an internet connection and your username and password. So that's something I'd kind of urge people to remember, is it's not just the physical buildings, it's everything else that comes along and that you can search through the Library Gateway.
We've got over 500,000 books in both of our libraries, as well as all of the electronic books and electronic resources that you would need in order to succeed in your course. The library is full of books, as you would expect, but it is important that you employ different strategies around finding some of these materials. Sometimes you'll want to use a printed resource, sometimes you might find it easier or necessary to use an electronic resource. In order to find all of those things, you really do need to use the library search or the library catalogue. We call it the library search facility, to enable you to find the things that you want, to find out where they are and whether they're available to you.
Yeah, at the end of most lessons, because luckily with my group it's quite a small group, so we can interact with the teacher, but it always gives us references that used in that, and also gives you support references to using booklets and all that kind of stuff. So the teachers are good at providing you with good lists of books and stuff to read.
Well, luckily we have workshops in first, second and third year on how to gather research, and we get shown loads of cool techniques. We get shown loads of techniques on how to find and gather research, which is really important to our assignments.
Generally I'll use either Google Scholar or PubMed, and it's just literally searching key terms in order to find stuff I need.
I did it through my kind of placement, working with a lot of older adults on the scheme. I kind of realised that sometimes there seems to be a problem with barriers to physical activity, because obviously some people might not have ever exercised until they are quite old, until they go to the doctors. So I was just quite intrigued to see why that was happening. So was it something quite deeper? And because I've kind of worked in that area, I thought I might as well kind of go with that. And I was kind of struggling to come up with an idea anyway. But you've got to do something which kind of does interest you with the research project, because it is your project. You're the kind of main person fronting it.
So usually when you start a dissertation, you start with your question, which is quite a big question. It's going to take you quite a lot to answer. So then you need to break that question down into smaller questions, which you can think about how you could answer.
Well, I think there is a secret to writing a good dissertation, and I think that is getting the start right. So I think getting your ideas right and having a good idea that you will be able to address the learning outcomes. Students sometimes kind of want to change the world a bit with their dissertation, but actually all they really need to do is meet the learning outcomes. So don't be too ambitious with it. You know, find something which is of importance to you and it's relevant to you and it's going to be interesting. I would definitely recommend that, because you will be spending quite a lot of time on this, so it can't be a bore or boring to you, but equally it needs to be something that you're realistically going to achieve as well. So don't bite off more than you can chew, and I would suggest as well, talk to your academic advisor, just run past some ideas, just throw some ideas around and see if you can agree on one which you think has got mileage, which is going to enable you to address the learning outcomes and write something that will really be interesting for you to do.
If you're starting your dissertation, you need to work out what's required, plan what you need to do. It's a long-term project, there's lots of stages and bits of it, so make sure you understand what you need to do and plan it through and have a kind of an idea of what you're aiming for when.
Starting a dissertation, make sure you know exactly what it's all about, and then read around the subject so that you've got a bit more in-depth knowledge. Our dissertations, what you call dissertations, are research projects. So then they will have to get experience in the lab, find out about the lab techniques, and then have to apply knowledge to more practical situations. So they need to know about their techniques, and they need to know why they're doing things and what sort of results they might get, so that they can look at them and be able to interpret the results.
What I recommend to students is you start with what you already know. Because you're interested in this project, by definition you've probably already read something or come across something, so start with that. You know, the first few books or articles you identify to get a feel for what's going on. That will give you confidence in your topic. For example, you can say, oh, there's plenty of stuff there, excuse me, I understand it, and it can help you refine the topic. So I'd say what you shouldn't do is rush straight to a computer and start trying to find things, but have a look at a few books, a few journal articles, start getting a feel for the topic, understanding the basics of it.
Well, dissertation is usually a really important part of your final year at university, and usually it's good to think about a question that's come up for you along the way. Maybe when you were doing another essay, you found that there was a subject that really interested you, but there wasn't very much written on it, or there wasn't research that was recent. So this is your chance to come up with a question and do your own research on something that you'd like to find out more about.
It should be thorough, it should delve into the literature and be relevant literature. It should be well written, well formatted, laid out, and also in a logical sequence. So it's not just the content of it, it's how it's written. But the content, as I say, should be detailed and should be very relevant for that area. So we're looking for relevance and inclusiveness.
I think the first thing is a clarity of the question, you know, a well-defined research problem that's then carried through in a systematic, rigorous way. The quality of the writing has got to be engaging while still maintaining that sort of academic integrity. So yeah, basically any piece of good research sets out a clear question, answers it in a systematic, rigorous way and presents good conclusions based on that.